A VETPRO specialist is a veterinary clinic whose main area of focus, 80% of the work we do is veterinary consulting and agribusiness consulting, with 50% being pets and dogs and the other 50% being in the livestock sector. And of late, we've transformed or are transitioning to offering what we call high-value, high-tech solutions, both from an advisory perspective and also from a product perspective in our area of expertise, which is basically in the agricultural space. Our partnerships go back a long way. I've used this product since probably more than my 20 years of my working life, specifically IDEX in terms of diagnostic kits for your full blood count and metabolic issues, etc. So when it comes to the IDEX thing, when it came in, it was basically a very, very easy transition for three reasons. Reason number one, quality. We have tried other products on the market, and IDEX is coming out as one that we can reliably use. The second thing is that it is a product that is quite innovative. So though it has the standard use of measure, we are exploring other ways of actually adding value to how, especially this pregnancy test kit is going to work. Third value is that it is value for money. When you look, oftentimes you buy very cheap product, but whose accuracy is not that good. So you actually end up paying twice. Here, you pay it once and you're sure of the story, you're sure of the results, high sensitivity and high specificity. In other words, you are absolutely sure that the result that you get is the result that you decide. And of course, it is quite easy to use. Any person who can handle a screwdriver can basically be able to do this, just like any person who's done a pregnancy test for humans. It works with the same principle. So it's quite easy to use by any ordinary person who can read and write. The reception has been two ways. The first one is, obviously we have marketed it as a product for those farmers who are wanting to do pregnancy test after we've synchronized the animal. We're offering it in the sense that they can actually do it on farm, right? So it is a very good way of putting, say for example, before they start the program, before we'd actually go out there and preg test the animals and those sorts of things, what we're now basically telling the farmers is, before we do that, you will basically preg test the animals yourself. We come and do the synchronization, and basically 28 to 30 days after we've inseminated them, we then basically either with the farm or the farmer themselves is able to do the pregnancy test. Other people may look at it and saying it's taking the job away from vets. However, when you take a step back and think about it, it allows me as a veterinarian, instead of me having to do all this work, is to be able to transfer some of that work to the farmers, which obviously allows me sort of probably the day servicing X number of farmers. It's X number of farmers plus an additional, because now the workload has been made more efficient. So my service delivery also becomes more efficient, because when I take the technology to the farmer and they've trained them to know how to use it, I'm pretty much sure that if they say an animal is pregnant or not pregnant, it can work. The third thing we found in an innovative way in our drought-prone region is, a lot of times, like right now in the middle of a drought, it's oftentimes the cows that go down, and it's quite important for the farmer to know whether the animal is pregnant or not. So we're also using this. We've got a kit that one or two kits we always carry in the car. When we've got a cow that is down, one of the first things we'll double check, is the animal pregnant or not. In addition, as the farmers are seeing us, we can actually, some of the farmers say, if they're too far away, have that thing as part of your arsenal. Is the animal down? Is it pregnant? The farmers can do it themselves. Last but not least, farmers who wish to sell their animals. There's a lot of farmers who wish to sell their old cows. They do not want to sell old cows that are pregnant, because that's a double loss. So basically what they're doing is saying, okay, pick up the number of animals that, if you're not sure that they're not pregnant, this is probably just a couple of hundred pula, vis-a-vis taking an animal, and that is, you're going to get 10,000 pula plus a lost calf. That's a huge loss. We have got the standard trained procedure as per the IDEX situation, but we also are finding that one of the constraints we found, that from a safety perspective, farmers were worried about taking blood vessel from the jugular vein. So we've taught them how to be able to take a blood vessel, a sample from the tail vein. It is quite easy to find if the animals are packed in nicely. And what we do is we normally take a 3 to 5 mil a tube, and we actually ask them to insert them with a pink needle and basically put that in to the like so. They then, we've demonstrated them to stick it into the tail vein, which is normally at the base of the cow over there. Once they've done that, we then tell them, without necessarily taking that, is this has got a vacuum, and then they probably need to take about 2 or 3 mils, but at most not more than 4 mil, because it's of the container size. It's written there what the maximum it can take, and they just put it in there. And because this is a vacuum, it will immediately draw the blood in. It is quite important that you do not overfill the vacuum tube, because the fact that there's a set amount of EDTA in there so that the blood does not clot. Because if that happens, it may eventually affect the results. We've also found that some farmers try to make a shortcut by trying to take the blood and putting it directly on the well. That is not advised. And it's also not an efficient way of using the kit. So the best thing we say, the farmers label the kit, each tube with the animal's ID number, place the blood sample in there, do everything, release the animals, and then proceed to actually perform the test. It's more efficient to do it that way. Once they've done that, they can then check which animals are pregnant or not pregnant against the tag number, and then go on and accordingly select them. When we receive an unexpected result, we do our basic troubleshooting, and we find that the majority of the time is because people are, 1, trying to take shortcuts, 2, like I said, overfilling these tubes, and 3, simply not following the set standard instructions. So one of the things we emphasize to the farmers is, although the test is easy to use, you still have to follow instructions. And the best way to describe it is like when you're trying to start a vehicle. Again, you make sure that it is in the appropriate neutral, etc. And that's how we tell them how easy it is. So if you start a vehicle without using the basic starting procedure, things are going to go wrong. If you don't use this test as per the simplified step-by-step manner, things are going to go wrong. So majority of the time is simply because people have not followed the basics of instructions. So my parting words is that it is a very simple, cost-effective test whose use goes beyond just the standard use, but it has to be used correctly. Just like driving a vehicle, you use it correctly, you'll get the best result.